we're featuring a number of nodes, and the first one coming up is the Advanced Light and Electron Microscopy node in Prague, and we have Margarita Sobol and Ales Benda coming aboard, and they're already sharing the screen, and their title is Endogenous DNA, Single-Strand Breaks in Cancer. Take it away.
So Ales, might be you would start. Ales?
Yes, so hello everyone, my name is Ales Benda. I'm the head of the Imaging Methods Core Facility at BioTCEF in Prague, and I'm also the representative of the Prague node in the Europe Imaging. Let me briefly, in 1 and 2 minutes, introduce the Prague node. As you can see on the slide, the Prague node covers both light and electron microscopy, and there are altogether 5 institutes and 6 different core facilities that are covering multiple methods. So there's no time to introduce all of them. So just for your idea how big we are, we have about 25 FTE for scientists, so expert staff, and we have more than 43 complex microscopy systems that cover electron microscopy to optical microscopy. Margarita will be giving a talk that has been done at the Institute of Molecular Genetics. But just to mention that we have many more groups that are studying cancer-related topics. Just to show or name 1 or 2 from the facility at BioTCEF, there's a group of Jiří Neužil that studies the role of mitochondria in the life and death of the cancer cell, and they combine super-resolution microscopy, live cell microscopy with correlative ion microscopy, functional imaging. Or there's another group of Laboratory of Cancer Cell Invasion, which is very similar topic to what we have just seen. And they, for example, combine different threat sensors, they combine 3D correlated light and electron microscopy together with modeling and so on. Just very briefly, that there are many projects that are touching the cancer research. And in case of your interest, you are really welcome to talk to us, and we can provide you some of the services. And now I think it's enough of the officialities, and I think I would hand over to the word to Margarita.
So good afternoon, dear all. I'm very glad and very proud to be here today with you and present you our talk. So let's start. As we all know, the cell during its normal life has a lot of different DNA single-strand breaks, which arise from abortive activity of some enzymes, reactive oxygen species, base excision repair, so on, so on. They are dangerous because they can cause further the double-strand breaks. They can take a collision with transcription. They can be synthetically lethal and can cause different diseases, neurodegeneration and cancers included. So a cell must sense the DNA single-strand break and repair. And for this, cell uses enzyme poly-ADP ribose polymerase, which is capable to sense a break, to bind to DNA, and starts to be auto-poly-ADP ribosylated, as well as PARP is capable to ribosylate in other proteins. This auto-ADP ribosylation triggers the binding of another proteins and enzymes in action. Those are capable to fill the gap, DNA is ligated, and break is repaired. This is very fast, very mobile process. So in this process, 2 main enzymes are taking part. First of them is PARP polymerase, which I already mentioned. It is capable to synthesize mono-ADP ribose on itself on other proteins. And then the chains are growing on, giving rise to poly-ADP ribose. In the turn, those chains are cleaved by another enzymes as poly-ADP ribose glycohydrolase, which is able to cleave poly-ADP ribose up to the last mono-ADP ribose. And this last one is cleaved by another enzymes. Till now, we have no tool to immunodetect the single-strand DNA break, but we can immunodetect the poly and mono-ADP ribose using the combined antibody composed of the protein domain, which is capable to recognize both poly and mono-ADP ribose, as well as Fc part of the antibody. So this story, do you see this this black, yeah, now you don't see it. Good. So this story began from the observation that S-phase cells display the signal for ADP ribosylation. As I already mentioned, the processes of ribosylation, deribosylation are very fast, very dynamic, very mobile. So we can detect them using no treatment, but we can treat the cells with inhibitor of poly-ADP ribose glycohydrolase. In such a case, the cells have still persistent poly-ADP ribosylation, and we can immunodetect it. So we did this observation with wide field microscopy, but further we asked ourselves, if only S-phase cells have this signal, this means the single-strand DNA breaks. So to answer, we used high-through output scanner microscopy, and we compared the cells in G1, G2 phase against S-phase cells. And we confirmed that S-phase cells have predominantly ribosylation signal. It means something happened with single-strand breakage and repair during S-phase. We were looking further to the situation using confocal microscope, and we found that poly-ADP ribose chains are localized close to or at the site of DNA replication. So something happened in a cell during normal DNA replication. Let's go in closer to the process. The DNA replication is accomplished by two main enzymes, polymerase epsilon, which is able to synthesize leading strand, and polymerase delta, which is synthesizing lagging strand, as a set of 30-50 million of Okazaki fragments. Those fragments are further ligated during canonical set of the proteins, pCNA, FEN1, and FLIC1. But what happened when some Okazaki fragments escape the canonical processment? If we imagine that only 0.1% of total Okazaki fragments escape the canonical processing, they give rise to about 30-50,000 of single-strand gaps, flaps, or nicks, which mimic the single-strand DNA breakage. So our hypothesis is that those unligated Okazaki fragments might be sensed and repaired and ligated using backup pair-dependent pathway. This is our hypothesis, but how can we directly visualize so single-stranded DNA gaps? For that, we can prepare the samples of DNA replication forks and use the high resolution of electron microscopy to be sure that our single-strand DNA gaps are not the result of technical problems of sample preparation. We decided to compare 4 different cellular models. In first one, wild type, both pathways, canonical and backup pathway of Okazaki fragments processing, are unperturbed. In the second one, we inhibit PARP enzyme, so the backup pathway is impeded, but the canonical one is going on well. When we insert model knocked out FIN1 enzyme, in this case, the canonical pathway is blocked, but the backup pathway is going on well. And in the fourth extreme case, we blocked both pathways, so Okazaki fragments are in majority unrepaired, unligated. We prepare the samples of DNA replication forks, and in first experiment, we used 2 extreme cases. One with both pathways are going on well, and first one where both pathways are impeded. We used electron microscopy, and we really detected single-strand DNA gaps when we blocked both pathways of Okazaki fragment processing. And we are very proud to say you that we are one of the non-numerous labs in the world who can do this job properly and can really detect single-strand DNA gaps, which are not the technical problems, but really display the unprocessed Okazaki fragments. We analyzed our data and found that really the majority of replication forks have the single-strand DNA gaps on dotted strands. Till now, we have no tool to distinguish lagging strand and leading strand, but we can presume that the dotted strand with a majority of single-strand DNA gaps is a lagging strand, which is composed of Okazaki fragments. Moreover, during this blocking of both pathways of Okazaki fragment processing, more replication forks contain more than one gap on dotted strands. In the second experiment, we compared all 4 cases, which I already mentioned, and we really detected single-strand DNA gaps when we impeded the canonical pathway or the backup pathway or both pathways. In this case, the amount of single-strand DNA gaps was enormous. So we analyzed the data and we really confirmed that when we somehow impede the replication in Okazaki fragment processing, we really increase the amount of single-strand DNA gaps. And again, we can presume that this dotted strand with a higher amount of single-strand DNA gaps is lagging strand, as well as in the previous case, replication forks contain more than one single-strand DNA gaps on dotted strands. In a summary, we can say that our data obtained using different kinds of light microscopy indicate that unligated Okazaki fragments trigger S-phase PARP activity. Electron microscopy allowed us to visualize single-strand DNA gaps, which result from the unprocessing of Okazaki fragments by either canonical or backup pathway or both. Analysis of ultrastructural data shows that single-stranded DNA gaps might serve as a biomarker of PARP inhibitor sensitivity, as well as defects in DNA replication. And finally, we suggest that PARP inhibitors might be effective not only in homology replication deficient cancers, as was supposed before, but also in cancers where the proteins participating in the processing of Okazaki fragments are mutated or absent. Thank you for your attention.